So good morning, everybody. I'm going to present you the EvalDepApps project. It is about the assessment tool for mHealth apps whose main goal is to manage depression. This is a project funded by Instituto de Salud Carlos III and Ministerio de Ciencia e Innovación in the government of Spain. So before starting to talk about the project, let me talk you about the previous steps of this project. So 10 years ago, I was attending a conference about digital health. Probably it was one of the first conferences about this topic. And somebody was presenting what it seemed to be a very interesting app to fight against phobia to flight. So somebody in the audience asked, okay, that's nice, but how do you know that this works? Which are the indicators that you are using to assess the effectiveness of this intervention? And so the person presenting the app just answered, oh, it has got a huge number of downloads. For me, that was like the trigger in starting to work on this topic. So yeah, if the only indicator was the number of downloads to see if a digital health intervention was working or not, this was not enough at all. So we needed something that helped us to separate the grain from the chaff. So to see, okay, which of the digital health interventions are working and are giving added value to the person suffering a specific health issue or to the health system. So that's why in 2016 we started an international group of experts, people who were experts in health technology assessment and also in digital health interventions. And we were starting to discuss which were the challenges, how we should do this evaluation process, etc. And so we published a conceptualization of a global framework in 2017. And one of the topics that it was very clear to us is that new tools and new methodologies should be developed. So that's why we started in 2017 moving. And I mean moving, so we started the project that we named at that moment EvalDepApps project, which is the previous project of the project I'm going to talk to you today. So this project was about design and validation of a tool to assess efficacy, safety, and effectiveness of mHealth apps whose main goal was to manage and prevent overweight and obesity. So we were able to do this tool, but this tool is not really used currently, and we learned a lot of different aspects that we are now implementing in this new project. So in that moment, we were focused in overweight and obesity, which is a very much prevalent condition among general population. But then we jumped to another very prevalent issue, which is mental health issues. So as you know, depression is affecting more than 5% of the world population, according to WHO. But we've seen in Catalonia, in my setting, that the number of people suffering from depression has raised a lot after COVID. So from 2017 to 2022, it has more than doubled. And it's affecting mainly women between 45 and 55 years old, coming from low income settings in rural areas. So we decided to focus our project in this topic. So that's where our EvalDepApps project starts. So the aim of this project is, again, to design and validate a tool to assess efficacy, safety, and effectiveness of mHealth apps whose main goal is to manage depression. So to do that, we decided to do it following 6 different stages, and we've already finished 3.5 of these stages, and I'm going to explain you about them now. So the first stage is about, okay, let's map what's on the net currently. So going to the repositories of Google Play and Apple Store, we can see which apps to manage depressions are available. Let's map them and let's assess them. Then we conducted a meta-analysis about digital health interventions in which there was technology included to manage depression also. Then based on that and based on the experience of EvalDepApps project, the Forma project, we defined a set of criteria, but this was a very long list. So we should prioritize which criteria will be embedded in our EvalDepApps tool. And that's why we defined a Delphi process. And based on that, we started also a co-design and co-creation process with final users to say, okay, we know what's going to be embedded in the app in terms of content, but how is it going to function, and how are final users going to use it? And finally, so from September on, we hope to start piloting this tool and finally validating it. So let's go step by step. About the assessment of the app, so we went to the repository of Google Play and Apple Store, and we decided to follow a strategy similar to the strategy that we follow when we do a systematic review. But it's not the same looking for evidence, published evidence in PubMed and other databases than in these repositories. It's not that easy. Anyway, we established some inclusion and exclusion criteria, and finally we came up with the existence of 30 apps that were following our inclusion criteria. And then we went now, yes, to the scientific databases, and we looked for existing evidence supporting the use of these apps. We could find a set of 27 studies, but they were focused only on 8 of these apps. So out of these 30 apps, only 8 were having really published evidence that supported their use. So this is was published 2 years ago in 2022, and then you can have here on your screen the different, the 8 mHealth strategies that were identified and that were having like some evidence supporting them. The second stage was, okay, we know which apps are available, but let's see, maybe there are some other things that are not really yet available, but there's been some evidence published about using them and assessing them. So we went to the typical databases, Embase, PsycInfo, and Medline, and we came out with a set of 28 papers that were explaining 29 randomized controlled trials in which we could see the positive effects of mHealth interventions when managing depression. This has been published also less than a year ago, and you can have the reference of this paper here. Let me share with you the most important things that we identify in this meta-analysis. In this meta-analysis, we could see that using digital tools was better than not using them. So yes, digital health is giving added value. But not the inclusion of a lot of different, like complicated technological features was not giving added value. So like including gamification, for instance, or virtual reality, or these kind of things, according to the papers published till 1 year ago, this was not giving added value. So it seemed that the most interesting, or more than interesting, the most effective interventions were those being hybrid interventions. So having somebody behind them in a synchronous or an asynchronous way. So healthcare professionals should be there before, during, or after the intervention, and the technology should be simple in order to be used and to be effective. So that was the second stage. Let's move now to the third stage, which is the Delphi study. So based in our previous knowledge in the EvalDepApps project, based on what we have found in the meta-analysis, we defined a set of 551 criteria that should be prioritized. They were in relation with one of these dimensions that you have in your screen about app purpose, health issues, safety, content, privacy, general issues, usability, and effectiveness. So we finally gathered a group of 26 final users. 11 of them were people suffering from depression and 15 mental health professionals. And we did a Delphi process with 2 rounds. And yeah, what we were looking was about the consensus and the agreement. So out of these 51 criteria that we were previously considering, we finally have found 28 criteria. It's not that we have reduced a lot of the criteria, but 28 is something that it's manageable enough. So after that, we organize co-design and co-creation groups. There were like 6 different groups with mental health professionals and 6 groups with people suffering from depression. So we decided not to mix up the 2 groups of people. So we did these co-design and co-creation workshops in 3 different settings, which was in Catalonia, my setting, Malaga, and Tenerife. The final outcome that we were looking for, it was a list of requirements to be included in the first version of EvalDepApps tool. So we followed the design thinking methodology, and we finalized having like these 13 people participating in the patients and 17 in the healthcare professionals. And finally, we uh, finalized having this list of requirements that we are now in our negotiation process with the developers who are going to develop this. So this is going to be a technological tool that's going to be pilot September on, and it's going to be validated and assessed later on in 1 year time, we hope. And finally, we will conduct some testing, usability, and other strategies to validate the tool. So that's all I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much. And if you have any question, you can contact me through LinkedIn or through my email address or during the conference in Sevilla. So see you in Sevilla.